Good morning, Bears. How's everybody doing today? Great to see you. Sorry about the false start there. We don't always have things go swimmingly smooth here at the Big Drum Bear podcast, but we do make things work the way we want them to, sooner or later. Good morning, Liberty Snake. Good morning, Kick Ya. Good morning, Big Riggin. Steve Pender, good morning to you. It's great to have you guys in here, and I'm sure we'll get more. I didn't get any notifications out this morning. Still messing with some tech issues. I tore the laptop down yesterday. I was trying to do some work away from the house. Oh, there's more things. There's more things I didn't see. Hang on a second. So I was just making sure I saw people's comments. They were floating in and out. Yeah, those wonderful technical issues that are always my friend. Hey, is that Mayor? Did I say Mayor already? Because I didn't see you until now. Well, good. Glad Mayor is here. And let's see here. Oh, yeah, the Akira the Dawn stream yesterday, Liberty Snake Bear. For those of you that are somewhat familiar or not familiar, Akira the Dawn, that's a cat. I've talked about him on the show before. Yeah, fantastic dude. Fantastic dude. He's just a crushing musician. He has made some wonderful, wonderful bits with especially with Jordan Peterson's stuff, but he's taken lots of different people's stuff. He'll take clips of people's voices, interviews or lectures that they do, and then put it to like lo-fi hip-hop beats. Yeah, it's pretty goofy, but then again, there is Sargon of Akkad. You know, he's got his goofy name too, so there's plenty of amusing folks out there, right? And then again, the whole reason most of us even got together as a community is because of a guy who tells pee-pee jokes, as Steve and I discussed last night. So, oh, I see. See, I knew about that. I knew Akira was an anime thing. I'd forgotten for a moment there, but yeah, it is a little weird to think about it that way. But just bear in mind, sometimes I want to play that pun hard. Other times I just want to gloss over it and hope people just forget about the fact that it's a terrible pun. But yeah, we are not exactly above all of that. It was good. I didn't see all of it either. I need to go back and check out some replay, but it was definitely worthwhile because he dug into some of the details on how he's progressed over the last year, right? He's exploded. He's massively exploded. He's getting close to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube when less than a year ago he was at 5 or less than 5. Well, that's unbelievable. You're going to start clipping the real good phone calls, Steve. You know what? Actually, I was planning on going and clipping out phone calls that I've had with you or Field of Bears or anybody else where I do an interview and make that available on my page as well. So you can come back and get that good stuff. And I think anytime we do interviews with other bears or anything we do, we should try to make those clips available somewhere. Hey, Kodiak, I didn't say your name. I should have. Good morning to you. Glad you're joining us. It's always a blast to have the Levi in the house. Let's see here. But, yeah, Liberty Snake, as to your question, it was good. It was definitely good. Once again, hashtag pick the wrong shoulder. Let Big Bear stream. You know what I'm saying. You know what's up. So it's more comical when I do that, right? And I'm not even realizing it. You know, and it is because I'm having to monitor myself. I'm doing all the tasks that usually someone has a whole team for when they're doing a show. Steve understands this. Field of Bears understands this. I don't have the chat up in a window here, in a monitor window necessarily, but I do have the actual, like, well, let's see. Does it let me show you? Because it'd be kind of cool for you to understand what I go through. Let's see if I can just capture the whole screen and you can see what I see. Let's see. Or does it only let me do the... I think it only lets me do individual things, right? Yeah. Like, this is what I have for OBS, and this is kind of fun to do. So this is what I see from OBS. Like, this is what I'm dealing with. Now I switched it, right? You know, but that's what I've got to look at, except that the windows are switched. Like, yeah, like I have a preview window and I have the main window, and I'm checking that out. Meanwhile, I'm also like you can see the big space of black off to the right, where what I have in there is my internet window, and I can see all of the chat going on at the same time, you know. And then of course I have my bar of apps and stuff at the bottom of the screen so that I can pull up sound or other weird things that I need at any given time. But anyway, it's always funny to me that I'm doing all these different jobs all at the same time, and then when I finally get to a point where this show brings in some revenue, and I'm to the point where I can hire a not gay producer, or maybe even a not gay Steve, or Steve could hire me, or who knows what's going to happen. Feel the Bears. We can all work together and have a show, the Bears Show. We'll probably continue to build our own brands as we ought to, you know. Of course, we won't rule out getting together and doing our thing, but I think we all offer something unique to the community, so it's probably good that we continue to build our own brands. But it'll be cool to work together when we're able. I'm always a fan of that kind of stuff. And don't forget Kyle Kavanaugh. Kyle's got some fun stuff. He's definitely the want to play some songs for you kind of guy. You know, that's the good stuff. I like that, you know, and I'd like to see him build up some of that and make it a little more structured as time goes on, if he's able. You know, it's not easy when you got to watch all the kids plus do a live stream. That can be difficult. And I'm blessed to have a schedule that allows me to do this. So yeah, it's funny to me when I'm looking at this screen in front of me, and I'm having to reverse in my mind what's right from left, because it's not a mirror image. It's what you guys see, right? So when I go like that, like, oh wait, that's right, the sign isn't on that side of me, it's on this side of me. That's funny. It was cracking me up. Any hooter. So it is time for knowledge. It's time to grow. Excuse me. Kick ya. Kodiak's excited. Kick ya. I think you have a fan. Let's see here. I have not been able to find my copy, because I swore I had one, of the 48 Laws of Power. It might be a digital copy somewhere. I don't know. I'd like to get into it. But what I thought might be even more relevant to get into is this Britannica Great Books edition of Machiavelli and Hobbes. I don't remember. It's actually a combination book. Machiavelli is actually a small part of this. Let's see here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you just how short this is. Oh, Thomas Hobbes. Okay. So it's like a bit of a biography on Thomas Hobbes there. It's a book called Leviathan. Oh, I thought that was, yeah, Thomas Hobbes wrote Leviathan. That makes sense. Yeah. Hang on a second. Okay, Leviathan, or Matter, Form, and Power of a Commonwealth, Ecclesiastical and Civil, by Thomas Hobbes. So interesting, ancient books, but mostly it was the Machiavelli that I wanted to get into. That's it. That's all that Machiavelli is, and that's actually some extra pages too that are not even the book. Hang on, I'm going to do this right. That's all that Machiavelli is. I took a couple of pieces of paper out of it. That's it. That's all that it is. It's like 39 short little chapters. And what I'd like to do is take us through that a little bit at a time. It's even got the biographical note and stuff at the beginning. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot. But it would be worthwhile, because everything that 48 Laws of Power is about began with this. I don't know if you've ever seen the version of the Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel as why can't I think of his name all of a sudden? Edmond Dantes, the main character. Yes. I just had to let the story run through my mind for a second until I heard the name, because I can replay these kind of things in it's almost like video form in my head because I've seen some of these so many times. But I had to replay that for a minute and think, what's the guy's name? Edmond Dantes, the main character of the story of the Count of Monte Cristo. I remember the version with Jim Caviezel and then Richard Harris playing the priest character, the guy he's in prison with. And Dantes' character doesn't know how to read, right? He doesn't even know how to read, and yet he's a good guy. He's you know, common sense smart to some degree. In some ways he's not. He's kind of like naive about the world, but he's like a good hardworking dude and dependable, right? So he gets thrown in prison for something he didn't do, right? Most of you know the story. I saw that coming on the Adam Smith stuff, and yes, I actually have that as well. So that's another thing I was thinking about. So when in this version, when he gets thrown in prison, it was of interest to me. Golly sakes alive. I'm just realizing how bright that light is. It's in my face. I had the brightness down on my laptop. That's a little better. That's a third better. There we go. It's not as hot, but it's up there. Yeah, sometimes see? I got to do it all. But at any rate, there's a point while he's in prison where he finally encounters this character, the priest guy. Ave Faria, I think was his name. And this guy offers to teach him. Well, actually, he requires... No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to take the break. This guy offers to teach him all the knowledge he has acquired, right? And Dantes also requires that he teaches him how to fight as the time goes on as well. He wants to learn how to sword fight because he never really learned. But while they're digging a tunnel, so to speak, as part of this whole deal, the priest is teaching him things, and he has books somehow stored away in this prison that he's had for years and years. And one of the books is this right here. You can see him reading Machiavelli's The Prince in one of the scenes in that film. I'm like, that only makes sense, right? So this is definitely a foundational primer to kind of understand the minds of people who want power or have power and how they try to get it, how they try to keep it. That's essentially what Machiavelli was trying to learn about. He was a minor public servant in Florence, in Italy, back in, I think, the 1500s. And he was involved with various different heads of state, had to engage in various different duties for the nation on a number of occasions. And I'm trying to think through it now without humming too much. He catalogs these different methods of people acquiring and maintaining power, right? Different circumstances under which that happens and how it works and how it doesn't work. Like what will eventually happen in this scenario, what tends to happen in this scenario, and what he's seen has been done about it. And yes, you often hear the summation of all that. His thoughts are, it is better to be feared than to be loved in efforts to acquire and maintain power, right? That's essentially how he sees that. And that's just it's just a sort of a scientific observation of these different things. Granted, there's some editorialization there, his own opinions and views on some of that, but he tries to make it fairly dispassionate, in the way he's presenting a lot of that, in the way I recall reading it. So definitely a worthwhile thing to get into, and there's going to be some separate videos from Big Drum Bear digging into one chapter at a time. Should be some short little things, kind of like Steve has had his food for thought. We're going to have chapters on Machiavelli. It's going to be Book Corner with Big Drum Bear, something like that. If you got a good title, feel free to throw some title names out. Throw them in the comment section. What title do you think we should give to the new books section videos from Big Drum Bear? Could be fun. But I wanted to just bring that up and bring up some other. Oh, David, you rock, man. That's awesome. David's rocking the Love Chunk shirt at work to date. That's pretty cool. Except the apes debunk that, according to Jordan Peterson. The apes debunk, Machiavelli? That's possible. That's entirely possible. No, Kiki, I didn't get your picture of the shirt on Hangouts. Hang on a second. Here's the deal. Go ahead and pop it in the Hangouts again, because I'm trying to collect pictures of this now. I want to get everybody's pictures of their shirts, because Steve sent me one of him and his son wearing theirs the other day, and I saw him post that in Hangouts. But I didn't get Kiki's. I'll feel free to block your faces, if you don't want to be doxxed. But I'd love to put together like a little bit or a commercial that shows different people's wearing of the shirt. There's happy customers for the next go round, right? When I put up the next go round, I definitely want to have that demonstrating different people. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's slow today. My wife and I were both having issues with the internet yesterday, and it was massively slowed. And I thought about this too. I figured that one of the reasons we're having such... I just clicked back over to the chat section. Andrew J. That's hilarious and disturbing at the same time. Welcome, Dom. Dom, you just jumped in for the disturbingness. Oh, man. That's... Yeah. It's hilarious and horrific all at the same time. It's incredible what comedy can do. Just amazing. Wow. Hang on. Something's not right. We're having trouble connecting to Google. Well. Kick ya. I'm going to have to get that from you at some point. I can't get it right now. The thingamabob's being ridiculous. I don't know. I just made up a word. At anywho, so books. We're going to be doing more books. And it not to... how would I put that? Porky pig for you for a moment. I want to get into things like Machiavelli and definitely Adam Smith on Wealth of Nations, right? Things like that. Some classic stuff. Maybe even some Bertrand Russell, right? Might not be a bad thing. Who knows? Possibly even. I might be fatwed for it. Just saying. Could be good to understand some things more deeply. Oh, I had one of my favorites for us to get into. Let's see, where did I put it? I just had it yesterday. Oh, you know what? I put it in my bag. Mordecai Moses Marks Levy. We will read through his manifesto. I do have a copy. So, it would be interesting to learn about these books and understand the principles therein better. And all the while we do that, recognize that these are not necessarily things we want to emulate, right? We want to understand the perspective of those who do want to emulate them so that we can better navigate a world of people that have been taken in hook, line, and sinker by that stuff. Convince those that are just uninformed, if that it's at all possible to convince them, right? And to stand against those that are well-informed and are malicious and evil, right? So, yeah, it's worthwhile to understand where evil's coming from. It's not a bad plan. Be gentle as a lamb, but wily as a serpent, I believe is one of the biblical verses relating to things of that nature. I might have that out of order. Pardon me. Inspector. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. Pardon the yawning, guys. That's not going to help you get up and get your day going. It's not how we do that. Let's see here. Plenty of good knowledge to dig into. Plenty of that. Let's see here. Horrificus. Redocnus. You guys are killing me. You stuck it in the chat. I can't access the chat right now, Kick Ya. I know you sent me that picture. You know, yeah, I couldn't get to it. Maybe I can now. I don't know. Google was giving me some trouble. Google was giving me the business. Kick Ya for Big Drum Bear. There. Very cool, Kick Ya. Let's see here. Do I get to copy the picture and save it? Save as JPEG. Yay, I got one. All right, so I got Steve's and I got Kick Ya's. If anybody else has pictures of them wearing their shirt, feel free to send it. Feel free to so do, because maybe I'll put something together that highlights the different folks that have enjoyed their chunk shirt, but without doxing you. If you so desire, I can always black faces out. Not blackface, but black out the faces. Best Answer says, people do not want to stand against evil. I was alone many times. You know, I think that's often the case, Best Answers. However, I see more and more people willing to get up and do it. I do see that happening. And yeah, we need, okay, so Best Answers, I don't know what you're doing today. I don't know what you're doing, say, immediately after my podcast. Oh, David, you're super cool. And which one? Which chat? That's, well, probably the one where it says your name. There you go. You guys are so cool. Let's see here. There's David. Golly sakes. You know, it's just, it fills my heart with so much joy to see people enjoying this shirt. I can't tell you how much it means. It's just so incredibly cool. Like, I'm not one to have thought that I would have fans enjoying wearing a shirt with my dog on it, wearing, of all things, a Che Guevara beret. It's not something that I predicted was fixing to happen. And here we go. And that's exactly what's going down. It's just wonderful. So thank you, David. Thank you, Kick Ya. Thank you, Steve, for sending those in. Anybody else, when you get your shirts, feel free to send me a pic and let me know. Be sure to tell me whether or not you want your face to be publicized in a video containing pictures of people wearing their shirts. If you do not, I will make sure to prevent you from being doxed. It would be not appropriate. Ask Kick Ya, she knows. Oh, man. Oh, you did? Where are you going? Where are you going there, Kodiak? You took days off to box some stuff up? Are you moving, man? Let's see here. Are you heading on to better places or worse places or indifferent? Coffee break. Let's see here. You know what? Yeah, Best Answers. I'll definitely do that. We should talk after. But yeah, I want to talk with you after and see if we can get some things nailed down. And I'd love to have you on video-wise, if at all possible, for an interview, if you're so inclined. But yeah, I'm sure Kodiak's out there somewhere. He's probably busy putting things in boxes. So, fizzinpixel@gmail.com. Who is that? Or is that something else in the chat I shouldn't be paying attention to? Let's see. Kodiak says, moving 6 of us in with the parents. Oh, owners of the rental are selling and we're evicted. No way, dude. That's horrendous. Well, shoot. Send a little PayPal love over to Kodiak. I mean, I don't know if that's what you necessarily need right now, but so you're evicted from your place, but like, do you lose your security deposit since they evicted you for having sold it? Because that's bogus. Man. Let's find ways that we can support the Kodiak family, the Levi family, and because they've done a lot for the bear community. They've hooked us up. They've hooked up Owen. They've done a lot of good stuff. When Owen streams today, let's make sure we shout that out and get more bears aware if we can. I mean, I know you're not looking for that. I know you didn't ask for that, but I say we try to do something to see if we can. I don't know what can be done. I'd have to brainstorm on that. I don't know what we could do, but that's just not right. You know, that's not cool. I hope. Do you have another place to go to yet? Or I mean, well, obviously you're saying you're going to the folks, but I don't know, man. We got to figure out what can be done. We gotta help bears. Yeah. There you go. Feed Kodiak. There you go. That's what's up. You got it. You got it. Well, prayers for you, man. Absolutely, because that's heart-wrenching, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. Provide the video. Yes, he did. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how hard I laughed at that. Yes, and on the Pinder, especially when you sent it to Chipmunk Land, that was the best. That was so stinking funny. Oh my gosh. You know, Kodiak, do you have a, what do you call, Patreon? If you have a Patreon, definitely put that out there. And this is something else I was going to add to the knowledge of today. Hang on. We'll probably be stuck there for 6 months or so. All the rentals are a lot more than they were when we got into the house we're leaving. Man, that is so bogus. That's frustrating. I mean, it's appropriate that the market goes up. An improved market is a good thing, but that's cool. Patreon.com/feedkodiak. That's a good deal. So let's get going subscribing to Kodiak's Patreon, and let's get the word out that people need to subscribe to Kodiak's Patreon. And let's talk about it. Let's send some messages to Big Bear today if we can, and see if he can continue to further that as well. Let's do it in each other's streams. Maybe I'll be making a Support Kodiak commercial to go along with another commercial. Hang on one second. Can all y'all bears just get a Patreon? You guys are so killing me. That's funny. That's so funny. Yeah, where's my Patreon? I actually do have a Patreon account, but I have nothing in it yet. I don't have anything set up. I just recently started it. So I wanted to actually put content in it before I had it going. It's like if I'm going to have one, I want it to serve a purpose. But I suppose it could be up there and you could subscribe even if I don't have content for those that want to and want to put in like $1 a month or something like that. That could be a thing and I could grow that, right? And then you could just set it and forget it kind of stuff if you're so inclined, right? So I will be doing that. Another thing I was about to talk about though that bears could probably get involved in, and I have an account set up for, but I'm trying to set it up more properly. Maybe this is an avenue that if you haven't already, you could start pursuing. Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com, that's Fiverr, double R at the end. They have an ability for you to put up a page and offer your services on a variety of different skill sets. You could offer your abilities to different people at whatever prices you set through Fiverr. I'm not an affiliate of them in any way, shape, or form. I am planning to put up a Fiverr page for music lessons, also offering services as a performing musician and also as a voice actor. I'd be happy to do any of those things for people who are in need of that. And once that Fiverr page is up, what we can do, if you put up a Fiverr page, if we as a community go out and try to post that around all sorts of different places and raise the awareness of that Fiverr page, that's just another method that people can use to engage with us and use us for different purposes, right? And we'll see how that works out. Maybe it's a great idea. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But it can't hurt to give it a try. You know, I've known some people that have done some great work through Fiverr. Does Fiverr get a little cut? Yeah, they do. But it's not that big. As last I checked, it's not a huge cut. So it's something, you can get your business going, you get things rocking. Let's see. I don't know all about the Patreon content yet, but it's set up with levels, etc. Okay, cool. I need to do the same, obviously. Oh, glamping. Okay, he's talking to Glampin about other things. But at any hoot, so knowledge. A little bit of knowledge there with Fiverr. It's definitely worth digging into. Hey, Honky, welcome. Always glad to have the Honky up in here. There is an interesting character that I would refer you to. I don't seem to see the... Aha. Interesting guy. I've gotten to know him over the years. Inspector says, I'm a voice actor specializing in a Western Pennsylvania accent with slurred speech. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. You should put that. I'm serious. You should make a Fiverr account today, Inspector, and I would put that on there. I would be totally serious, right? And see who would actually hire you for specifically that. Dom does have a wrench here, Mofo Nature Bear. That's right. In this place, Dom has a wrench. In this place, everybody has a wrench. Until I hit about 1,000 subs, then I'm going to have to pick and choose, right? I figure when I get to the 1,000 mark, I might have to start picking and choosing. We will see. So push subscribers my way. Try to get us built up as soon as you can. And, you know, even if we just got to 999, you're still safe, right? You're still safe. So keep building, keep building. But once we get there, I might restructure the whole wrench concept. You know, Dom, we'll see if you make the cut. You know, it's possible. But then you are Dom. Oh my gosh. Wanted to say there's a guy I got to know a few years ago. Hey, is Nimmers up in here? I didn't even see him. I can't see your icons because this thing is obnoxious. Hang on. Having some issues. Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. Oh, wow. And it took it all the way down. Wow. I just closed the chat. It's a beautiful morning with technology today. Here we go. There we go. It's starting to work, maybe. Let's see. Okay. So we're back. All right, it's working. Yeah. I don't see your icon, so I won't notice like who's doing what right off the bat. I just have names, so it takes my brain a little longer to translate the letters into meaning a person. Let's see. This gentleman I found out about a while ago, a few years ago. Shoot, it's been like 8 years ago now since I first heard his name. Gentleman named Bradford Scott, and I've mentioned him before. He's an interesting character. He's a lover and teacher of the ancient Hebrew language. Very unique character. This is Brad. This is the Bradford Scott right there. He's a funny dude. You go look him up on YouTube. He's just a squirrely, funny kind of guy. He's a talented musician, interesting character, but he wrote a series of different books that are worthwhile, and one of them, he sent me some of them for free. I mean, he's a really sweet, kind guy. So is his wife, Carol. They're wonderful folks. But this book called the Tanakh, the Dictionary of the New Testament, right? And the principle here is that whenever you're seeing a word in the New Testament, right, it is being used by Hebrew people, right? Even though we're reading it in Greek, the manuscripts we largely have are Greek. However, likely for the first several decades of this stuff being transmitted, it was being transmitted, it was being passed on, spoken, and perhaps sometimes written in Hebrew. Most of the New Testament writings, I should say, were likely originally written in Hebrew because the people writing them were Hebrews. Even, I would suggest to you, Luke. Luke, who is most commonly considered a Gentile, quite possibly may have been, this is conjecture, I don't know that, but he may have also been a Hebrew. The main evidence that is touted for Luke, the main, number one, and I would encourage you to check that out, the main evidence for Luke being a Gentile is that he was a doctor, much like Ben Shapiro's wife, right? So figure that one out. His name is Bradford Scott, and the book is called The Tanakh, the Dictionary of the New Testament. He's an interesting character. He and I may not agree on everything, but we don't have to. You know, I would say we probably agree on a number of things, quite a number. So Dave Curtis did a message on Brad Scott. He probably did, and I would say hear him out and take his arguments in as you're considering some of these things. I don't doubt that it's worthwhile. Yeah, and Honky, definitely, I encourage people to check out various different. On Luke, gotcha. Yeah. And Luke is an interesting character. There's a lot to that gospel. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying Luke is a Jew or he was a Gentile or either. I'm just saying those things aren't necessarily 100% settled. And the idea that the New Testament is coming from the perspective of Hebrew people, right, is a worthwhile thing to consider. And it largely is. I don't think there's much debate on the fact that the majority of the books or the letters written within that are written by Saul of Tarsus, otherwise known as Paul to most of us. But that's awesome, Honky. Oh, Vader was a PP. That's funny. I can say dick. I just usually choose not to. It's more fun to say PP, right? If I have to. No, Luke is not a very Jewy name, right? But of course, most of the names that we read when we read the names of the books of the Bible are anglicized, right? Jeremiah, that was not his name. His name was Yeremayahu, right? Is almost how it would have been pronounced. Or Genesis. Genesis is not Genesis. That's the coming from the Greek, right? Or the actual name of that. Actually, how the Greek was like arche. And arche. I think the Genesis is connected to the it's the Greek or the Latin. I forget. I can't remember. The Hebrew name was Bereshit, which is the word for in beginning, the first word of the book. In the New Testament, it's not necessarily Matthew as it would have been pronounced. It's Matatyahu, right? Mark. I can't remember what Mark's Hebrew name was. John, I know, was Yochanan. That's how John would have been pronounced. James, the Epistle of James, would have actually been Yaakov, right? In English, we say James, right? In Hebrew, they say Diego instead of James. Like what? Yeah. It's amazing how some of these different things translate through different languages. But sometimes there are little nuggets hiding behind the scenes when you start tracing things back and understanding words and language that's used in these epistles, these letters that we call the New Testament, and all throughout the Old Testament. There's things that are illuminated to you. It's all good, Steve. No problem. There's things that are illuminated to you when you pull back the veil a little bit and you start to understand things from the perspective of the people that were chosen to pen it down, right? It's kind of wild. It's kind of amazing. So when you start seeing certain words like church, right, and find out that there's this term, well, how would I say? Yeah, this term church that gets used throughout the New Testament, ecclesia, right? There was a version of the Old Testament that was translated into Greek about 270 years before the birth of Christ. It was known as the Septuagint, which is a fancy word for 70, and there were approximately 70 scholars, some say 72 scholars, Hebrew people, that were chosen to do this translation from Hebrew into Greek, because Greek was the commercial language of the day. It was how people did commerce. It was what a lot of people spoke. Now, there are some who would contend that Hebrew was a dead language by that point. It wasn't being spoken. However, more and more evidence has surfaced that that is far from true. The Dead Sea Scrolls, many of the Dead Sea Scrolls that were being penned down by this sect of Jewish folks known as the Essenes, right? Many of these scrolls were actually written in Hebrew. They were like commentaries on Old Testament books that were being written in Hebrew, right? Which is appropriate, right? There are even copies of the, well, no, I don't know about that one. I'll leave that one because I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'll wait. Nimmer did say you wrote them. That was so funny. I caught that at the tail end of the conversation. It's like you were there. You saw that stuff happen. Oh, my gosh. He dug into you good last night. That was so funny. So you can forget any books by Brad Scott. You can just leave out any Bradford Scott materials whatsoever. You don't need to know about Hebrew or the ancient form of the language or any of that. Just go to Steve, right? Like he's there. He's an eyewitness. That's probably more reliable than any reading of books, any knowledge I'm talking. I might as well not even be doing the show. Just let the Jew take over. Let him just tell us his wisdom and knowledge, right? Let him spew forth from his ugly shekel hoarding mug, right? Hey, Monkey Wrench, you're absolutely right. It does sound like our studies in Iraq, man. It's stuff that I learned about long after I had left. Well, it's actually, I was spawned on to find out about this because of the Missler studies, right? As going through that Chuck Missler Learn the Bible in 24 Hours study, I became aware of a small bit that Chuck used in there talking about the ancient Hebrew language and how ancient Hebrew characters, I've talked about it before, are pictures, right? And they're pictures that are connected to a concept. And these concepts build on one another, right? And that language is even heavier than you'd realize. I can't even begin to tell you. I can just sort of scratch the surface. It's not even just pictographic characters. It's also alphanumeric, right? Each letter is also representative of a number, right? And it's like the first 9 letters are 1 through 9. And then the next are, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And then you have the last 4, 100, 200, 300, 400. But there are 5 letters that have different forms in the way they're written in the Katav Asheri, the modern type of Hebrew. These 5 alternate forms for just a few different letters. I can't tell you all of them off the top of my head. I know Nun, Kaf, Pei. Nun, Kaf, Pei. There's 2 others that are written differently. Mem. And there's another one that's not coming to me, but it's written differently when it occurs at the end of a word, right? It's just an alternate form of that letter when it occurs at the end of a word to help the language self-parse, right? You could have had the language written in text to continua, which means that you don't separate words, right? You just write one letter after another equidistant from each other in a text to continua format, right? And shirts. I'll squirrel on that for just a moment. My shirt came USPS. Mine came in the postal service, so it's probably going to come that way. That's how I got mine. I don't. It might be different for wherever you're at, but I got mine USPS. So I'm suspecting that Bonfire used the same for all of you, not UPS or FedEx. And just a red plastic baggie, right? Mm-hmm. Hang on a second. Okay, my wife turned the radio up upstairs. The radio is on one of the local Christian radio stations to try and keep the dogs more calm, and I didn't know what was going on. It's like, who's talking up there? What's going on? I'd forgotten about that. At any hoot, let's see here. I'm losing my thunder here. I want to keep going with this. I did want to answer that, though, because that's important stuff. So you could write Hebrew in this text to continua But if you had these 5 final forms of letters that more commonly came at the end of certain words, then you could self-parse, right? You could parse it out if you knew the language well, and it would break up the words automatically. That's even more of a space saver characteristic of the language. It's amazing how well this is done. Let's take it another step, right? I said they all have numerical value, right? So when a scribe is copying from one page to a new page, right, to keep a manuscript up to date, one of the features that the language has built into it, another reason why you Jews are so good with the numbers, always up to something. Another reason why this worked out so well is because they could add up the value of all the letters that would occur within a line of a manuscript, right? They'd take one line from a manuscript going across. And of course, they'd be going from right to left. You know what I'm saying? They'd go from, I'm doing my right to left. So you'd read it differently. You wouldn't read it in the typical way that for you guys, it'd be from right to left, right? That's how you'd see it. It'd go this way that you'd read. You'd get used to doing this. So you would add up the value of each number, of each word, right? The number associated with each letter, I should put it that way, and add that whole line, the value of that whole line up. And then you look at what you'd copied on your new sheet. If the values didn't match, right? If you ended up going through and you got a different numerical value, burn the whole page. Burn the whole page and start fresh. What's up, Bear Bear? That's Stephanie, by the way. People who don't know, Stephanie Comer is Bear Bear. I know, right? And this is part of why. It's trying to understand better a little bit about why y'all are so good at that kind of stuff, because it's built into your history, right? So there was a book that was released some years ago. Some guy did this sensational book, Michael Drosnin, I want to say was his name. I could probably be completely wrong. I want to say it was Michael Drosnin. Did a book called The Bible Codes, or The Bible Code. I can't remember. It was a more sensational kind of thing about this idea of equidistant letter sequences within the text. Steve. Equidistant letter sequences within the text, meaning you'd have a letter and then you go a certain number of spaces away and then another letter and a certain number of spaces away, another letter, certain number of spaces away, etc. And you'd eventually spell a word within the text. You could find strange words like what they call basically an equidistant letter sequence. The number of letters between the letters of the hidden word are supposed to be the same number of letters apart. Right. So an example of this where this actually does happen. This is an actual phenomenon. It's been researched very well. And what makes it worth your while to check out, because in honesty, you could find this happening in any body of text with any kind of large text in any language for that matter. You could probably find this to happen to work out. Right. This is entirely possible. Yeah, man. It's wild. It's wild. Okay. I'm just touching on some details of why the language is so fascinating, why this guy loves it so much, but this isn't even what he focuses on. His whole point in like this book, Brad's point in this book is to help you love your Bible better and take it more seriously, right? And to understand what God's saying to you with more depth. That's all he's hoping to accomplish, right? And I'm saying this not as someone who just read his books or something like kind of gets it. I've talked to the man a number of times. I understand his character a little bit, and he's a very, boy, it would be something to interview him on the show someday. He's down for that kind of stuff too. Yes. Thank you, Kodiak. Yes. Kavanaugh is in. That's awesome. 51-49. That's fantastic. Justice prevailed. A non-rapist, horribly dragged through the mud, he is put in place. That's a great interruption. Worthwhile, Squirrel. Thank you so much. That's excellent. Honky Bear, I am right there with you. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? That's kind of where I'm going with some of that. I encourage some of these other things not to sensationalize and say, oh, well, there's secret mystical things. Yeah, there are. Obviously, there are secret mystical things in the Bible, but not in a way that's like, ooh, only the elite can know it. No, any average individual can dig in, but it's not about the secret mystical things. The point of this is to say that you should take it seriously. Like, God means what he says and says what he means. Like, if he went to this much detail underneath the surface of the text, right, which I suspect he did, it's pretty painstakingly obvious the more you find out about these details that he went to extreme levels to create it, then you should take the plain text more seriously than you do. Like, it really means what it says when it says something, right? And sometimes we can oversimplify what the plain text means, which is why digging into a little bit the more full meaning of a word is useful. Can we get the basic message? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. No matter what language. I'm not debating that at all. But what I am doing is saying, let the view of God in your mind be as big as it could possibly be. Take him seriously, because the larger he is, the more easily you will gravitate toward wanting to dig into his book, right? The more easily you will gravitate toward wanting to walk in your life the way he's called you to, right? That's the whole purpose behind why I'm sharing some of this stuff. But the Kavanaugh thing was such a worthwhile distraction for a moment. And after I tell you a little bit more about this thing here, Mofo Nature Pig, you're killing me, man. So funny. After I tell you a little bit about this business here, finish what I'm saying. Man, that's amazing, Inspector. That's amazing. It was split that much. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm taking a moment on that. I'm restructuring a couple things in my mind about how I'm going to continue. I want to get back to this stuff, but I want to stop because this thing was huge. The fact that that justice was able to prevail in the midst of this insanity that's been going on. And anybody who's got half a brain tied behind their back knows this business has been insanity. If it came out today that Brett Kavanaugh has been a serial rapist and done horrible things, I'd be the first to stand up and say, get him out of that seat. He doesn't belong there. He belongs in prison. He belongs castrated. I'd have no problem saying that at all. It's disgusting to me. Oh, that's a little bit of a downer, but at the same time, awesome. Okay, so they took a vote on ending the debate on the sexual assault because of the FBI thing. So they haven't done the confirmation vote. Okay, still great, right? Still great. But 51-249 is pretty horrid. You're absolutely right. We just won because the Republicans are the majority there. Because there is nothing going on there, right? So they haven't confirmed. Okay, it was still awesome. And I enjoyed the emotional high that it brought, right? It was still worthwhile. But yeah, that stuff isn't going to stop. It's still going to go on in the court of public opinion, right? It's still going to go on in media stuff. Feel the Bears. You're killing me, man. That's too funny. Feel the Bears mug has a 50% guarantee of preventing false rape allegations. That's hilarious. That's a great slogan for your mug. By the way, get yourself a handsome mug. Get one of those today because, man, it's a handsome mug. Take a look at that thing. You know what else is handsome? One of these. These are also pretty handsome. Barely handsome. There's also this guy. Yeah, be sure to watch his show. Check out the Feel the Bears podcast. Live. Weeknights, I believe. You're on tonight, aren't you? Or is it not every night? I don't remember what your schedule is. But yeah, look for the Feel the Bears. Go subscribe to his channel. Go subscribe to Steve Pinder's channel. Go subscribe to all the Bears, right? Even if they don't have a show, right? Just get in there. Go check it out. It's good stuff. Right on. All right, now, the important thing I really wanted to share. I put a tweet out on this, actually, And if you are inclined to get on the Twitter, feel free to engage with it a little bit and check this one thing out that I shared last night. But while driving home, where's my Twitter? I don't want the main feed. I'm pulling this up so I can share with you guys because, oh, by the way, Kamala Harris wants us to know that they have over 1 million people that have signed a petition opposing Brett Kavanaugh's nomination, just so you know, and they're shooting for 1.5 million. So still under a third of the population of the United States, just FYI. A third of a percent, still under a third of a percent of the population of the states. Just saying. Not quite what you would think. But this is what I posted last night because it was so poignant, and it made me almost come to tears. And I'll show you the tweet once I learn how to do OBS. Let's see, screen window capture. Let's change that window capture. Come here, window capture. What are we capturing? Could you capture what I want you to capture? You might. Hey, all right, there we go. Okay, little Twitter action. So we share the tweetar. Hey. Here we go. There we go. Perfect. So fade over to this, and I'll let you have a look. While listening to Fireside Chats on a drive home this evening, that was last night, I literally started clapping and was very nearly moved to tears at the comments made in this clip. Thank you, at Dennis Prager, for sharing this timely beacon of hope. And what is that timely beacon of hope? I'll be glad to share it with you. I don't know how much you'll see, but you'll hear.
By the way, did you know, folks, talking about Canada, a conservative party has just won the Quebec elections on lowering taxes, privatizing some of the healthcare system, and limiting immigrants. Quebec, the most left-wing province in Canada. A lot of places are awakening to the damage that the left is doing to them. Even Quebec, Canada.
Yeah, that was massively heartening for me to hear, because I wasn't expecting that at all. And I thought, wow, I just, it was like an involuntary reaction. I couldn't even stop it. I didn't even realize I was doing it at first. It just blew my mind that was going on. Yeah, thanks, David. I appreciate you sharing the Twitter link. Yeah, I just all of a sudden started clapping at that while driving. Like, I'm holding onto the wheel sort of, but I'm like, trying to do that, like, just filled with this massive uptick of hope about that. That's like, wow. People are not happy with this jazz at all. They're like, this is enough. We can't be condoning the loss of minds. Oh, Steve, thanks again for saying that. Yeah, I had so much fun talking with Steve. It's always fun. It's always fun getting to interact with bears. And I just happened to catch the show. I was busy with some other stuff, spending some time with my beautiful lady, but I had a moment and I checked the phone. I was like, oh, that's right, Steve's show is on. And I popped over to it and he was talking with Nimmer. And then after they were done talking, I definitely had to pop in and just say thanks, because he made this shirt design. I was so stoked about the chunk shirt. I'm like looking down. It's not on me right now. It's in the wash, which it should be. Actually, it's in the dryer now. I just need one more round on it for it to be good to go. And then I'm probably going to wear it again. Oh, thanks, Kodiak, for Twittering me. I always appreciate that. I just get the notification here. Yeah. Look for opportunities to be encouraged. Look for that, because they're waiting for you, Take them. Let yourself be taken over a little bit by encouragement that comes at you. Because I got that last night, and I got to say, man, it was incredible. Just amazing. That I'm clapping because Quebec, because Quebec is voting conservative. That's wild to me. Unreal. So, yeah, all the more so if I find out that this business with Kavanaugh is settled, you know. And I don't even like. I'm with Big Bear. I'm with Crowder. I learned some things about him on Crowder last night. I was like, wow, this guy is way farther left than I would have thought. Like he's down the Cortez Road. I can't even say her whole name. Nobody can. Everybody's been having that problem. Nina Santa Maria Pinta Cortez. You know who I'm talking about. Kavanaugh's been down that road, but at least stable as a judge. And I really wonder, because I know Big Bear said the same thing, but I've thought it myself. I'm like, I really wonder how this whole situation will impact him coming into the Supreme Court. I really am curious about that. Yeah. So does Quebec escape hashtag gas the French now? Oh my goodness. Google Eyes. Yes, that's her name. Alexandria Pentagonal Cortez. Oh my goodness, you people are hilarious and a half. Hilarious and a half. All right, back to the biblical concepts, right? I do want to touch on this because this is about the knowledge is power stuff, right? This is why this is so worthwhile. I'm going to have to stop looking at that chat because I'm just going to be laughing the whole time off on Nature Bear, as funny as that is. Yeah. It is like she's in perpetual fear. It's true. It's true. It's so sad. But you know what's not sad? Getting a Field of Bears mug. A Field of Bears handsome mug right now from redbubble.com. Link in the description. You can get yourself one. It comes in travel size too. Think about that. You can take it on the go. It's a little more expensive. The travel size is like $25. These ones are like 15 and some change. And that's before shipping and all that. So yeah, there's shipping involved. Let's be honest. But hey, you know, I paid for shipping on Steve's mug, and I'm eventually going to do so on this mug. I'm not really ready to buy on this round, I'm afraid, but I'd love to. I tell you what, if you guys can get links out there for me to teach, if you can get some links out there for people who want to take some kind of musical lesson, right, or want some voice acting, and tell them to send an email to steadyintime@gmail.com. Get them to check us out. Check out what I'm all about, and I would be rocking it. I'd be paying some bills. It'd be a good thing. Go ahead and share that link and tell your people, tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers on the street. Go to steadyintime.com/contact and get a hold of Big Drum Bear, steadyintime@gmail.com. And you can take online lessons in drums, piano, guitar, bass, and essential music theory, where you can read, write, and arrange music of your own. I will do it via Skype. I could do it via Google Hangouts. I can do it via Facebook Messenger. I can even do it via one of my favorite places to do it, which is gotomeeting.com. That is what I tend to use. And it's very affordable. Very affordable. I typically charge $22 for the half hour or $40 for the hour. And I usually prefer to charge 8 sessions at a time. I do a minimum usually of 8 at a time. But there's deals to be worked out. There's things that can be done. You know? Just give me a call. We can work out a plan. Right? So, yeah, that sounds a little creepy the way I'm putting that out there. But it's more for the amusement than anything. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell whoever. Tell strangers on the street that seem like they're probably people of means. Because people that are not of means probably can't afford to do it. And those that even can't afford necessarily to do much, you know, even though they can only take a lesson here or there, maybe one good lesson, you know, and I can give them some knowledge on how to move forward, a little consulting session kind of moment. I could teach in a not gay Reuben voice. I could try. I'd have to listen to him again. I got to get the Dave Rubin characteristics back. You know, I don't quite have them in abundance right now. But I could probably talk in a Jordan Peterson voice and teach lessons that way. I could probably talk about the cognitive neuroscience of drumming just a bit. Let you know that your drumming doesn't have to stay wretched and miserable and of no use to anybody else and no use to yourself, it can become vital and useful. Gosh, you could clean up your drumming. You could sit up straight and play the drums and make it sound good. Those things could happen. Woke Kermit. So funny. It is good. It is good. Finish off the rest of the stream with woke Kermit. Well, you see, the Tanakh is the Old Testament of the Bible, and it was written by people that were Hebrews, people that understood numbers. They understood their language, communicated extremely efficiently. It's not by accident, you know. I mean, I've done a fair bit of thinking about this, eh? No, I'm gonna go nuts trying to do that. I haven't worked that out. It's not obvious. They bruise. Yes. So good. So good. So the numbers. By the numbers here. They would have to make an entire line add up. Oh no, I was on the equidistant letter sequence thing. And again, the purpose of this is just to tell you that it's worthwhile to take it seriously, right? This is no joke. So you have the Torah, the books of Moses, right? You start with Genesis, right? And you find the first instance of a tav, the letter tav in the text. You skip 49 letters and go to the next place where you skip 49 letters and you'll come to a resh. No, I'm sorry, not a resh, a vav. A vav. I'm spelling the word wrong. A tav and then a vav. A vav is an interesting letter because it can function kind of like an O in some cases. It has that vowel quality to it. So a tav, 49 spaces and then a vav. 49 more spaces, 49 more letters, I should say. And then you come to a resh, which is like our R. 49 more spaces and you come to a he, which is like our H, right? Those 4 letters spell the word Torah in Hebrew. Tav, Vav, Resh, and He. So they're spaced out 49 letters apart, right? Why is that significant? I'm not exactly sure. You know, I'm not telling you that it is for any reason. I'm just telling you that it happens to be the case. It was discovered that's the case. And in and of itself, that's like, okay, that's fine. That's cool. Except you go into the book of Exodus or Shemot, right? Brashit for Genesis, but Shemot for Exodus. You go into Exodus, Shemot, right? And you come to the first instance of a tav. You go 49 letters. Guess what you come up to? A vav. You go 49 more letters. You come to a resh. 49 more. You come to a hey. Once again. Feel the bears. You've got the word Torah. Once again. Spelled. Right there at the beginning of the book in an equidistant letter sequence spaced at 49. So you think, oh, this is kind of interesting. Maybe this pattern will continue. Maybe it won't. It'd be really weird if it did. You come to Leviticus. You don't see this pattern happen. You come to the first tav. You don't see anything coming after that, right? You don't see anything 49 more spaces later that would make sense. It doesn't follow the pattern. You don't see the word again. But just for kicks, you go on, you look again. And you go to Leviticus. By the way, that's the book you were in. That's what I meant to say. Leviticus. You're in Leviticus and you don't see it. Leviticus, by the way, is known as Vayikra. That is the Hebrew name for that book, Vayikra. So you go on to Numbers, otherwise known as Bamidbar. That's the next book, Bamidbar. And in Bamidbar, you take a look at this. And you don't see it happen. But wait, look closer. It does happen, except it happens backwards. You come to the first hey. You go 49 spaces. You come to a resh. You go 49 letters, I should say. You come to a vav. You go 49 letters and you come to a tav, right? It spells the word Torah backwards. Backwards, right? That's a little weird. Guess what? Go on to Deuteronomy, otherwise known as Devarim. The words is what that word means. You see once again, Torah spelled backwards from the first hey, going back 49 or going into the text 49 letters, you come to a resh. 49 more, you come to a vav. 49 more, you come to a tav. So you have the word Torah spelt backwards, right? Let's go back to Leviticus or Vayikra, right? Here in this book of Leviticus, you didn't find the Torah thing happening, but what you did find from the first yod, the letter yod, our Y, right? You go 7 spaces and you come to a hey. You go 7 more spaces, you come to a vav. You go 7 more letters and you come to another hey. It spells yod hey vav hey, the 4-letter unpronounceable name of God. It is pronounceable, but there's differences on how that's done. You come to a vav, or excuse me, you come to a yod hey vav hey. You come to his name right in the middle of the Torah, right? And you have Torah pointing right toward the center, right? And Yehovah's right at the middle, right? That's how I tend to pronounce it, like different scholarly thoughts and 30 or 40 different ways to pronounce Yod He Vav He. I say Yehovah. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean you're wrong, if you do something different. I also say God or Lord at times because nobody really knows. We don't have tape recordings. But that's not the important point. The important point is that somebody took some particularly intense care to not only structure the plain text to be written the way it was, right? And moving forward in the way it does. But you have the word Torah, right, in Hebrew, pointing forwards and backwards from the latter half of those 5 books toward the center of it in the book of Leviticus or Vayikra with the word Yod He Vav He in the center of it. I think that's conspicuous. I think that's of note. And here's the other important point. I think some folks might look at that, and Honky, you might be one of those folks. There might be others of you out there that might look at this on the outset and say, well, that stuff's probably not the important part of how we live. I agree 100%. It's not. The point of bringing this up is not to say we should be totally focused on equidistant letter sequence codes and things like that in the Bible. That's not the point. Now, if you were a Hebrew, you would be sensitive to that, right? If you were born 1st century AD, time of Christ, you would be sensitive to these types of things. You would be very aware of them. We don't have TV. We don't have phones. We don't have YouTube. We don't have any of this stuff. We're not spending our time doing all those things. This is our YouTube, right? This is what we put our whole life into, is digging into the book of God, right? The whole thing, letter for letter. They had it memorized, letter for letter, from age 6 to age 10. That's just the Torah. Then from ages 11 to 14, they're memorizing the rest of the Old Testament. Come on. Come on. You don't think they could become slightly sensitive to the fact that God organized some things to say, by the way, just a little bit of a confirmation, this is really me. I really did this. This is my books, right? People say you can't prove that the Bible is of God. I disagree. There are far deep levels of organization that defy 2 things. 1, random chance making it happen. And 2, people contriving over centuries and different language. Think about this. The Bible is written in 3 different languages, predominantly Hebrew. Then Greek, of course, is what we have a lot of the New Testament in, and a little bit of Aramaic thrown in. There's some chapters in the book of Daniel, a chapter at least I know of, that's actually written by King Nebuchadnezzar. It's a letter from King Nebuchadnezzar to his entire empire, letting them know that he has put his faith in the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because of Daniel's influence in his life, right? He has recognized that this is the true God, and he's writing that to the entire nation. And that whole section, that whole chapter is actually in Aramaic. But other than that, right, Predominantly Hebrew and Greek, right? So still 3 languages that you're dealing with, essentially, right? Written over various continents where it happened, because it wasn't just in Israel. It wasn't in just, I guess you would consider Israel a part of Europe. I thought it was kind of like Asia, but I guess it is considered Europe. Also in Asia Minor, throughout Asia Minor, these various New Testament letters written. Trying to think where else. Over 40 different authors, right? What has become 66 different books. At some time past, it might have been a few more. Like, I think the Psalms actually used to be divided up into 5 different books, the way it was separated out. So at some point in the past, there might have been 70. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I've heard that said in a Bible study. It may or may not be the case, right? But you have this collection of books that has been knit together. Some people say, well, what about the apocryphal books? They just didn't count those at the time. They weren't even contenders. They were never even serious contenders. Many of the apocryphal gospels didn't even claim to be true gospel accounts. The people that have written about them these days say, oh, yeah, they are. They totally are. And they were just, they just kept out. Like, no, they weren't even contenders. And there were different qualities to try and stringently discern whether or not something was inspired of God. When the Council of Nicaea and other councils that were looking at things of that got together to try and determine some of these things. But the Old Testament canon, that was established by Ezra, largely. He's got a book in there. You know this guy. It was things that were already considered largely by the nation inspired of God, right? Martin Luther, interesting character. Many people consider him the founder of Lutheranism, even though he wasn't trying to found any separate denomination of Christianity. It was his followers later on that did. But Martin Luther, he had a belief that the book of Esther didn't even belong in the Hebrew scriptures because it didn't say the name of God. Guess what? This equidistant letter stuff, it's all up in there. All kinds of things. I deeply encourage you, go do this Chuck Missler Learn the Bible in 24 Hours study. It's going to blow your brain, right? Like, what? Just do it a step at a time. Work through it. It's highly, highly worth your time, right? Ruth, absolutely. Certainly. Yeah. A lot of people didn't think so. There's their like poetical kind of things. And he thought, well, it doesn't say the name of God specifically. He wasn't aware. And nothing against Martin Luther. I was raised Lutheran. Guys, I've got, just so we're clear, hang on. See that poster? That's the 95 Thesis of Martin Luther. So if you think for a moment that I'm not appreciative of Lutheranism by saying that, let that be a quelling to that thought. Just putting that out there. I'm very appreciative of the heritage that has brought me to where I'm at now. But there were some things that he probably didn't know as well. So this is worthwhile. And then when you begin to couple with it the fact that Hebrew is not only an alphanumeric language, which is wild in and of itself, and that the value of certain words that have to deal with a certain subject added to the value of certain other words within that subject equal the value of another word that's connected with that. I can't remember where I remember reading this, and I can't remember the exact words. I'd have to find it, but this may be apocryphal, this may be inaccurate, but my understanding was that the word for father added to the numerical value of the word for father added to the numerical value of the word for mother equals the numerical value for the word for child, right? And that there are things like that occur within the language all over the place. Like the language in and of itself is not an accidental collection of stuff, right? This also pertains to what I was talking about earlier in the week about evolution. The more I dig into the Bible, right, the more I understand the depths of how that was put together, the more I'm convinced that we do not exist in a random collection of happenstance. We don't operate in that way. We operate in a world that is broken, that is not operating as it was originally built to operate, but we're not operating in, what would you call? We're not operating in pure randomness. I don't buy that. Just because it isn't perfect, just because it isn't like you could envision things working better than they currently do, doesn't mean A, that it wasn't originally intended to work better, and B, that you would even know what better should be, like that you have a true perspective on the whole thing being better, right? People have suggested human beings, right, clearly have aspects to their physiology that are not that efficient, right? Human beings have eyes that are, say, inferior to other types of creatures, like octopi, right? Octopi have far stronger eyes than we do. Their eyes are much more advanced than ours. They've evolved eyes that are far, far, far more complex than ours. Ours are very limited in their scope. They have a lot of difficulties with them. And that's great, comparing our eyes to octopus eyes, except octopus live in the water, right? We have certain barriers, right, in our eyes that reduce their ability to see in certain ways. Octopus tend to live in the water, where water is a natural barrier to some degrees of light coming off of the sun. It filters certain things, right? We don't live in the water. Therefore, we don't have that filter for ourselves. Therefore, we need extra barriers that maybe wouldn't allow our vision to be what an octopus vision would be, but it allows our eyes to function well in the environment we find ourselves in, right? So at first glance, some things may seem like, well, that's kind of unbalanced, or that's an inequality, right? I demand having octopus eyes, equality of eyes with octopi, right? We ought to be having it. I mean, this is actually scientific theory that's been postulated by people that hold evolutionary theory high, right? My apologies there, Kika. You guys are killing me in the chat. Yes, I am distracting. It's true, Jeremy. You're right. So there's understanding in the way that we're put together. If he took that much care in a book, right, that he left for instructions for us on how to live well, do you not think he had a lot of forethought in the way he put you together? And if you're that well put together, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You're sacred. Treat yourself like you're sacred. You're not an accident. You're not here unintentionally. You're here with specific purpose. It behooves you to find out what that purpose is, or to be seeking it every day and believing that there's a place where you can get the answer. Being willing to accept that, even if it doesn't seem apparent to you right now. Continue to fervently pursue it and want to serve that purpose in a way that you can be encouraged and motivated to continue to seek that out. Dig into the book. Dig into the Word of God, right? Whether you think it's that or not, read it anyway. Get Dennis Prager's Rational Bible and dig through that a little bit too. Get various different Bibles. Get commentaries from various different people, studies from a variety of different people, so that you can hear what they have to say. I would say a good primer, right? And it's more than just a primer, let me tell you, but something that will give you a perspective that this book is one book and it is for you. It is to encourage you. It is to lift you up. It is to push you toward living in the way you were meant to be living. A study that will infuse you with that sense would be that Learn the Bible in 24 Hours study. But I would also, as you do that, as a companion, because there's going to be disagreements, right? Not all people see the same things the same way. I would say it will enhance you. The Tanakh, Dictionary of the Old Testament, as you're looking at New Testament words and concepts and interpreting passages as you're reading it, consider that every word that's being used is being used by someone who comes from a culture that was also the culture of penning what we call the Old Testament down, right? And so the thoughts, the processes, the thinking of all that, anytime Jesus is speaking, he's speaking in the context of that culture. He wasn't born into a Chinese family. He wasn't born into an Armenian family. Nothing against Chinese or Armenian families. He wasn't born into an African family, right? Into a Zulu tribe or anything like that. He wasn't born into a Native American tribe. He wasn't born into a Mongol family or something like that, right? He was born into a Hebrew family. If God has that much detail and specificity in the way he crafts his book and the way he crafted you, do you not think he had some intention on putting his son to be born into a specific type of family? That's what I would suggest to you, that there's something worthwhile about that culture, right? Not because the people are of that merit. He said it many times. I'm not doing the things I'm doing, oh, children of Israel, because of you being anywhere special, but because of the faithfulness of your forefathers, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? I had a relationship with those guys, right? And I made certain promises in that relationship that I'm going to keep, because that's my nature, is to keep promises that I make. We don't do that too well. I sure don't. I fail on it regularly. But he's in the business of making and keeping promises. He promised that you have a purpose. You have something massively worthwhile to contribute. And you may not understand all the details of it right up front. I sure don't. But I'm willing to believe that what I can do may have massive impact, whether I see it right away or not. Do what I know I'm called to do. Do what it's obvious that I have a predisposition for doing. I have a predisposition for talking. I've been told that since I was knee-high to a duck. It's pretty obvious that I know how to jabber on. Can I jabber on about something that might be worthwhile to somebody, that might be impacting in their life, make them want to pursue for one more day, make them want to do something different than what they've been doing and pursue something more worthy, more worthwhile, make an impact in somebody else's life. I've watched people do that in the last 3.5 months. I've watched people do that, and they said thank you to me for things that I've said that have encouraged them. I'm going to keep being that agent for that in some way, shape, or form. And whenever I teach, whenever I talk on here, whenever I serve with my musical talents in the studio or in a live situation, I want to keep it up. I want to keep doing it. There's hope out there right now, guys. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of darkness too. So don't quit. But the hope means you've got a reason to stay in the fight. Even if there was only a fool's hope, still reason to stay in the fight. Still reason to pursue things that are of high value. Bear, that's very kind of you. That's nice of you to say. I'm grateful to be in here. I'm grateful to be doing this. And don't take what I say as gospel, please. Please. But go check out what I say is the gospel and test it, read it, try to live it. Even a little bit, something. I'll tell you things that have been useful to me, and tell me things that have been useful to you, because I'm looking for help too. Keep Kodiak and his family in prayers, because they're definitely needing it right now. I want to see them lifted up. Be sure to get a mug, a handsome mug if you can, if it's something in your power. Thank you for getting Chunk t-shirts. That's huge. That's amazing. I'm so incredibly excited about that. Inspector Bear, pray that he stays awake, because he seems, I guess he's tired. He's not awake. I missed some of what he said. Don't let him fall asleep. Feel free to 10 more minutes. Are you on the drive? Are you on the drive, man? What's going on? Let's see. Thanks for streaming, B2B. Been up 28 hours. Oh, wow. It might have saved your life. Oh my gosh. You know what? I can hang for 10 minutes to make sure you get to the house. We can do that. Or I can get on the hangouts with you, man. Something. Keep Inspector alive. Keep Inspector alive. That's what we have to do. Don't let Inspector die in the last 10 minutes. He needs to keep it up. Oh, keep up. Excuse me. Hold on. I don't want this to turn a wrong direction. We are on a high spiritual plane. Let's stay there. Let's not descend. Oh, my goodness. Oh, still funny, though. So, what am I thinking? Inspector keeps bridges up. That's right. That's right. New t-shirt. Keep Inspector alive. Oh, my gosh. You guys are killing me. So funny. That's one of the things I love about this. The most enjoyable thing about all this is how funny you people are. It's so great. Yeah. Keep Kodak and the family up. And one last thing to ask for, not to be selfish, but I got to make sure I get work, and I definitely need help too. Tell everybody you know, and you don't. Tell strangers. Probably people that are in a position to get involved in it, that you can tell would be likely in the market. Big Drum Bear, he teaches, his name's Aaron, and he teaches lessons in drums, piano, bass, and guitar, and music theory. And you can do it online. And he's very reasonable in price. Looking to get a good 20 students here very soon so I can pay bills, because we got to do that, you know. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to go work in a factory somewhere. Might have to do that anyway, you know. But definitely got to walk more dogs. Got to walk more dogs. We're trying to build that up too. All recruitment. It's the least enjoyable part of being in your own business, but it's got to be done. But the bigger you build up bears, the bigger they can build other bears up too. That's what we're all about. Yeah, baby. Build yourself up today in whatever way you can. Open the book. Open the book, the #1 bestseller of all time. Kodiak's going to be in good shape. Levi's going to be all right. Bears are going to be looking out for you, man. You're going to make it through this stuff. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to make it through. There's hope right now. There's a ton of it. And I hope you guys are feeling that. Oh, my goodness. 50 Shades of Hope. Is that what you're saying? Mofo Nature Bear. You and so many of you guys crack me up. Man, it's impossible to read this chat for more than like 30 seconds. For anything to time more than 30 seconds. Shoot, maybe 15 without wanting to roll on the floor laughing. And I will tell you, for those of you that were listening last night, I was rolling on the floor laughing. Not even kidding you. I mean, it was literally sitting on the floor, rolling back and forth, dying laughing when Steve and I were talking. When I said that last night, I meant it. Is Jeremy at Walmart right now? Is that what you're saying? He's dressed for Walmart, Stephanie? Oh man, I wouldn't put it past Jeremy, but it is kind of cold out there, you know. It's not the most, shall we say, flattering weather for him to be in a Speedo. You guys are funny. Are you getting close? Are you getting close there, Inspector? Are you alive? Are you still alive, Inspector? Trying to make sure you get to this house, man. How many minutes away? You 5 minutes away now? Let me know. Are you driving and texting? Is that what you're doing? Am I encouraging that? That can't be good. You're probably doing the voice text, right? Voice to text thing. I've done that. I can tell my phone voice to text and then throw a chat comment in when someone's on YouTube. I don't have to look at what I'm doing. I don't have to look at the video or the phone or anything like that. But I love to listen to some of you guys when I'm driving. You know, kill me. Yeah, voice to text. It's like, you've done that, right, Steve? Oh, okay. You know what I'm talking about. Blue sky. Oh my gosh. People are killing me right now. Well, I'm waiting to see if Inspector says he made it home. I just want to know. I'll tell you what, I'm going to end the stream, but I'll try to reach Inspector on the Hangouts if he's got it up. And we'll hope and pray that he's made it home. He can't be but a couple minutes now. So please tell us that you're still alive. We just want to know that you made it or you didn't crash. But we look out for Bears here. I'm glad he made it on long drive. All right, Bears. I've got things to accomplish, and I got to get a hold of Best Answers too. We got to talk about getting an interview set up for next week. But in the meantime, Bears, engage your mind, engage your heart, engage your body. I guess in the middle of all that, just serve the ultimate purpose. Love you, Bears. He is alive. That's right, Steve. Never forget. He is alive, and he's giving you purpose. Live it. Peace, Bears.